Now, when it comes to names that have defined what hip-hop has stood for since the 2010s, there are few people that you can even put in the same sentence as Childish Gambino. Now, while once being best known for being a writer on 30 Rock and then for playing Troy Barnes on Community, once Donald Glover developed his rapper persona and began to use this version of himself to explore some of the most important themes of his generation through stunning musical detail that few artists could match, Gambino did not just push the boundaries for what it meant to be a creative in the hip-hop space, but through albums that many people consider classics like Because the Internet and Awaken My Love and genre-shifting singles such as Feels Like Summer and This Is America. He became one of the most important rappers of the entire 2010s decade period, and now fast forward to today. Aside from having multiple albums that people consider to be classics, multiple #1 hits, and just being one of the most decorated rappers in terms of awards and acclaims out, Gambino has not been respected by the larger portion of hip-hop culture for being the generational artist that he truly is. From being made fun of to this very day for not following so many of both the musical and stylistic choices that many try to shoehorn rappers into, to then questioning his place in hip-hop because of all of the risk-taking and genre-bending that he does, despite everything he has done in his career. Especially today, this has not stopped a large portion of hip-hop culture from questioning Childish Gambino's place in this genre, but despite people's own blindsidedness, this has not stopped Gambino from making a year as big as 2024 for rap music, a time where he is once again one of the major players in it, because at this point in his career, from finally completing his 2020 record 31520 and molding it into the vision he always wanted it to be in Alta Vista, to delivering infectious show-stopping features on a track like Kaytranada's Witchy, and even being a big part of the release for other rappers' monumental records like 21 Savage's American Dream. Gambino has shown the world that he has finally completed all of his side quests, and now he is committing back to the craft that he has been missing from. And now, while some rappers would do this much to build up hype for the future of their careers and reinstate themselves as an institution in the genre, Gambino has been doing all of this to prepare people for the end of his time in the limelight, as all of this created the perfect storm of events to lead up into the release of what is his final album and most ambitious project yet, Bando, Stone, and the New World. And now with this record, from being the final album Childish Gambino will ever release, as he has stated after years of teasing that the end is on its way, to the fact that Gambino has developed an entire film to accompany this music, which will be dropping later this year, with Glover directing and starring in this movie in addition to making an entire album. This is truly the ultimate moment of his career in terms of all of his skills and talents coming together to make one unforgettable experience. And when it comes to accomplishing this goal and delivering on all the hype, with the ambitions and stakes never being higher, the question we gotta ask is, did Gambino deliver and give us an LP that will go down as one of the best final albums from a rapper in a very long time? Or did he fumble this moment and stain the Gambino image with a project that will destroy his legacy? And now when it comes to answering this legacy-defining question, all we need to do is look at the album, which through 17 songs that run for exactly an hour, Gambino explores a pocket of his artistry and, more importantly, his conscience that we haven't exactly seen before. So with Bando, Stone, and the New World, just like every single album from Gambino before this is a record that is setting out to do something completely different than any of his other projects served to accomplish in the past, and as a result, it of course sounds like nothing else he has ever released. The album's soundscape does not exist purely within one genre and does not lean into one sound or style even more than all of Gambino's iconic works already did it, which is of course saying a lot. And while this can be a feature of the record that could cause it to have a lack of strong direction, for an artist as versatile as Childish Gambino, creatively it energizes him to play within a musical sandbox that makes the record more dynamic than 99% of what else is being released in the entire music and hip-hop world. This is why the album opens up so incredibly, as from the experimental production and intense rapping on the intro track, to the larger-than-life ballad of Lithonia, to then the faint but soothing singing on Survive, Gambino immediately sets this venture up to only be bound by one thing, and that is his ability to take any creative risk he wants at any time and stand on the confidence of his own vision. And in a hip-hop world where albums are made to sound way more claustrophobic than ever because most rappers are trying to make inoffensive music that does not push the needle forward one bit, and all it does is force people to keep on streaming the most surface level and redundant music possible, this is one of the best records we could have gotten right now because it's a direct creative antithesis to the musical garbage that so many people, especially in a genre like rap, are trying to pass off as art. Now granted, with that said, the ability to take creative risks does not make this album undisputably perfect, because there are certain moments that border on being closer to creative duds than gems, but at the end of the day, These are the dice you roll when you were trying to make something special, and even with the weaker moments on the project. You still see Gambino just elevating his craft, and if there was any corner of his artistry that you wanted to see him explore that he still hasn't since creating this persona well over a decade ago, he probably does it here, and this is why so much of this record shines. Hearing Gambino bend so many different sonic worlds that managed to come together surprisingly well is a feat that really only few others could ever pull off, and with all of the emotional and musical ups and downs on this album, it's genuinely beautiful at times to hear just how far Gambino can go in terms of engulfing listeners into an experience that is so dynamic and fleshed out, and as you listen to this album and hear Gambino deliver an experience that is so boundary pushing, yet maintains its accessibility and charm, you realize that beyond all of the sonic worlds colliding that make for one of the most well-rounded and versatile albums of the entire year, Gambino is leaving us with one final message that when we look at in the grand scheme of final albums and projects that have been meant to send off rappers whether they last or not, is one of the most valuable. Now, if we go back in time when Gambino's rap career began, everything was always about proving that he can exist in the space known as hip-hop, and as he got deeper into his journey, while he eventually did get a lot of respect from the culture and some of his most respected peers, from major rappers who have called his most acclaimed works overrated, to fans who think he is way too unconventional to be one of the go-to rappers out, Gambino was never able to become the cultural stable that rappers like Drake, J. Cole, and Kendrick Lamar could, and while in 2013, this frustration may have resulted in him calling out Kendrick and Drake because he was trying to take the crown from them. At this point in his career and life, as the lead single which really serves as the vision statement to this entire album says in Lithonia, he has found out that none of this stuff matters as nobody cares, and while that may sound like a negative thing on the surface, it's actually quite beautiful when you realize Gambino has matured to the point where he isn't trying to move in a way that will make others appreciate him more, or that will boost his sales numbers the most, and at the end of the day, is simply creating music that will end this chapter of his life that has changed him forever in the most fulfilling way possible, and that is what this album is about. Childish Gambino is not trying to feed narratives down our throats, but he's just letting his artistry speak for itself, and as he delivers amazing rapping performances here, but also so much more, as from the production which will send you into another dimension at times to his singing which is so commanding. What we witness on Bando Stone is an artist who has never been more in tune with the full scope of their musical skill, but beyond that, one who is ready to leave all of this behind, not for marketing purposes or to stand on some claim that he is too good for rap anymore, but it's because he has matured all the way to the point where if we go back to Gambino's debut album Camp, where on that album he was a young actor seeking validation in the hip-hop world, now on Bando Stone, he is a grown man who wouldn't just laugh at that, but he has realized that the only validation he or anyone listening for that matter will ever need is the one they get when they look in the mirror, and when we look at the career progression of Childish Gambino, while not every album he has released is perfect, there is no better way that he could have finished telling his musical story than by showing this full circle moment. And now with all that said, let me know, what do you think of Bando Stone in the New World? Because I seriously think this is a great album, and it definitely has a seat at the table when it comes to the Album of the Year conversation. Again, wait to hear what you have to say, and if you want to see why Drake just got even more petty by sabotaging Kendrick Lamar, Schoolboy Q, and more rappers from ever playing in his city again, check out the suggested video.